What if I told you that India and China are fighting the wrong battle? Most people think these two giants are racing against each other. The border, military power, trade, influence. But that's not their biggest problem. Because right now, both countries are racing against something far more dangerous. Time. China is running out of workers. India is running out of opportunities. And the decisions made in the next 10 years may decide not only the future of Asia, but the future of the entire world. Because when nearly 3 billion people live inside two countries, their success or failure affects everyone, and the clock is already ticking. The Asian century that changed everything. Just a few decades ago, many experts believed the future belonged to the West. America dominated, Europe was rich, Asia was still developing. Then something extraordinary happened. China exploded economically. Hundreds of millions escaped poverty. Factories appeared everywhere. Cities grew at unbelievable speed. At the same time, India slowly became a global technology powerhouse. Software, IT services, digital payments, startups. For the first time in centuries, Asia was rising again, and many people started calling the 21st century the Asian century. But hidden beneath this success, a dangerous problem was growing. A problem neither India nor China could ignore forever. Demographics, population, time. China's clock has already started. Let's start with China. For years, China looked unstoppable. The world's factory, the world's biggest exporter, one of the world's strongest economies. But today, China faces a challenge that money alone cannot easily solve. People are having fewer children. China's population has already started shrinking. Its workforce is getting smaller. Its society is getting older. And this creates a chain reaction. Fewer workers, higher labor cost, more pressure on pensions, more healthcare cost, slower growth. Imagine a giant factory slowly losing workers every year. That's the challenge China is facing, and Beijing knows it. That is why China is investing heavily in artificial intelligence, robotics, advanced manufacturing, semiconductors, automation. Because China hopes technology can replace some of the workers it is losing. But here is the problem. No country has ever fully solved this challenge, and China is trying to solve it while also competing with America. The clock is already ticking. India's clock is ticking too. Now let's look at India. At first glance, India seems to have the opposite problem. India is the world's largest population, a young population, millions of young people entering the workforce. That sounds like an advantage, and it is, but only if jobs exist. This is where India's race against time begins. Every year, millions of Indians need opportunities, jobs, skills, education, infrastructure, manufacturing, economic growth. Because a young population can become either a demographic dividend or a demographic disappointment. That's the challenge. India has a historic opportunity. Global companies are looking for alternatives to China. Supply chains are shifting, manufacturing is moving, technology investments are increasing. The world is paying attention to India, but opportunities do not last forever. India must move fast enough to turn population into productivity, and that is why India is racing against the clock too. The world is changing fast. Now here is the twist. The world is not waiting for India or China. Technology is moving faster than ever. Artificial intelligence, robotics, automation, advanced manufacturing. The jobs of the future are changing rapidly, and this creates pressure on both countries. China fears losing manufacturing dominance. India fears missing manufacturing opportunities. China wants to move up the value chain. India wants to climb the value chain. Both countries are chasing the same future, but time is limited. Because global supply chains are being redesigned right now. Not 10 years later, not 20 years later, right now. Countries are deciding where to invest, where to manufacture, where to build the next generation of technology. And those decisions could shape decades of economic power. The border is not the main story. Most people think India and China's biggest issue is the border. And yes, the border matters. The Galwan clash shocked both countries. Military deployments increased, infrastructure projects accelerated, trust collapsed. But here is something surprising. The border is not the biggest challenge either country faces. Even if every border dispute disappeared tomorrow, China would still face demographic decline. India would still face job creation pressure. Those problems do not disappear. In fact, they may be even more important than military competition. Because history shows something interesting. Great powers rarely collapse because of enemies alone. Sometimes they struggle because of internal problems they fail to solve. And both India and China understand that. The hidden race of the 21st century. Most people think the future will be decided by missiles or aircraft carriers or military alliances. But the real race may be very different. Who builds better AI? Who educates more skilled workers? Who creates more innovation? Who attracts more investment? Who develops stronger industries? Who adapts faster? That is the race happening right now. And unlike wars, there is no clear finish line. Every year matters, every policy matters, every investment matters. Because the next decade may decide whether China remains a dominant global power or whether India successfully becomes one or whether both face challenges that slow them down. The future is still open, but not forever. Why the whole world cares? Now you might ask, why should the rest of the world care? Because when India and China change, the entire world changes. Together, they represent more than one-third of humanity. They affect energy demand, technology markets, global trade, manufacturing, climate policy, supply chains, food markets, investment flows, everything. If China slows dramatically, the global economy feels it. If India succeeds dramatically, the global economy feels it. The future of these two countries is no longer just their own story, it is everyone's story. Conclusion. For years, the world asked one question: who will win, India or China? But that may be the wrong question, because neither country is fighting its biggest battle against each other. China is fighting time, India is fighting time. One country is trying to stay strong before it grows old. The other is trying to become rich before its demographic advantage fades. And history shows something dangerous. When great powers feel time slipping away, they often make bigger decisions, take bigger risks, move faster. The next 10 years may become the most important decade in modern Asian history. Because the question is no longer, will India or China become powerful? The real question is, can they solve their biggest problems before the clock runs out? And if they cannot, what happens to the future of Asia and the future of the world?